This presentation is about computer wargaming. It is part of the study in Web 3.10 at Curtin University, through OUA Australia. Let's start with defining a computer wargame. These are games that are single or multiplayer. They are both online and offline. And importantly, the player is not in first person. Wargames are all about a grand strategy. The core feature is a map. The player always looks down in 2D or in an isometric perspective. Wargames are not always military. They have found successful markets and audiences in sci-fi and fantasy. With wargame, scholars use serious with a different meaning to what we use in the everyday. Serious means the skills can be used in real life or for training, or education.
Let's get real. Modern computer games are not about boy soldiers and boring maps. Cinematic and other effects like action sequences make these games more entertaining, for all. The wargame has a long history. Chess and Go are thousands of years old. In the 18th century, wargames moved from the domain of generals to the play of board games. In the late 20th century, Dungeons & Dragons became a precursor to computer wargames.
Dungeons & Dragons is a great example. Many of the first computer wargames were direct replicas of the games that preceded them. And the advent of email replaced snail mail. Email sped wargames up. Networking and the internet allowed multiplayer and simultaneous play. Simultaneous play is known as WeGo. This presentation explains that maps are the core of wargames. This is of great cultural importance. The maps in computer wargames reflect a colonial past. Simply by playing, participants can reinforce colonial cultures. Copying an empire in a game reinforces the empires in real life. Examples are the Total War games. Even when maps are used in the sci-fi and fantasy genres, our subconscious understandings help reinforce dominance and colonialism. Gamers need awareness of these effects.
Flags and maps go hand in hand when we examine wargames. Flags are important symbols within the game and also toward the outside culture and times. Flags become symbols. The study of symbols in games and in culture is known as semiotics. Semiotics play an important role in wargames. Flags are used as objectives to capture or defend. This gives participants a purpose for play. Flags can show ownership of terrain or how much of a map is ruled space.
Flags are like maps in that they tell a story inside the game and for the outside world at the same time. Most computer games use flags to tell a story of the Western world. Wargames can challenge colonialism by looking at the world from different perspectives. Mods allow the structured culture and game to be broken down. Mods that reinvent the economic and socio-political become effective in changing the constructs of the game and colonialism.
Another way wargames can defy colonialism is through time. The gamer can make their own timelines, so history's story does not happen. Or it happens in a different order. In summary, computer wargames rely heavily on maps and flags. These are ways to support the colonial and imperial. Both in the game and in reality, there are ways that wargames allow the player to defy the colonial. This is by way of mods. It also comes from the way history can be rewritten.
For further reading and a more academic understanding of wargames, you can visit these research sources. They were used as background for this presentation.
Thank you.